our focus today is on the 8 northeastern states that send a total of 25 representatives to the Lok Sabha. Let's take you through a state-wise analysis of how political parties fared in the northeastern region in the last 2 Lok Sabha elections. In 2009, the BJP won 4 of the 14 Lok Sabha seats in the state of Assam. The Congress emerged victorious on 7 seats, with the AIUDF, the AGP and the BPF claiming 1 seat each. In the state of Arunachal Pradesh, the Congress swept the state, winning both Lok Sabha seats. Similar results were seen in Manipur as well, with both Lok Sabha seats going to the Congress. In Meghalaya, which also has 2 Lok Sabha seats, one was won by the Congress, the other went to the NCP. Mizoram's lone parliamentary seat was won by the Congress party. NPF won the only Lok Sabha seat in Nagaland, while SDF won the single seat in Sikkim. In Tripura, a CPIM stronghold for decades, the party won both Lok Sabha seats in the state. 5 years later, in 2014, the picture had changed quite a lot in each of these 8 states in the northeast. In the Lok Sabha elections in 2014, the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance won 11 of the 25 parliamentary seats in the northeastern states. 7 of these 11 seats won by the NDA came from Assam, where the dominant party, the BJP, emerged victorious. The Congress and the AIUDF won 3 seats each in Assam, while lone remaining seat went in the kitty of others. In the state of Arunachal Pradesh, the BJP wrested 1 seat from the Congress in 2014. Minister of State for Home Affairs Kiran Rijiju won the Arunachal West seat, while Congress's Ninong Ering emerged victorious on the Arunachal East seat. In Manipur, the Grand Old Party continued to hold fort and retained both Lok Sabha seats from 2009. In Meghalaya as well, the Congress retained 1 Lok Sabha seat, while the other seat was won by the NPP. The lone parliamentary seat in Mizoram was won by the Congress. While in Nagaland, Sikkim as well as Tripura, there was no change in the party's representation in Lok Sabha. The NPF, the SDF and the CPIM won the parliamentary seats in their respective states. However, since 2014, a lot has changed as the BJP has forged alliances with several regional parties and the Congress seems to have lost ground.
Let me, go back to my colleague Tina for some more details on the scenario in Assam, Tina, as far as the previous assembly elections were concerned.
See, Vishal, when we talk about changing political scenario in the northeast region, particularly in Assam, and, the BJP making inroads in the region, we have to understand that the state of Assam contributed significantly in the rise of the party in the region. From just 4 seats and 2nd place in the 2009 Lok Sabha elections, the party grabbed 7 seats and moved to the top spot in the state with a remarkable rise in its vote share. 10 years ago, in 2009, the BJP's vote share was at 16.2%, while the Congress party got 34.9% of the votes. The AIUDF got about 16%, while the AGP and the BPF's vote share was 14.6% and 5.4% respectively. While in 2014, in the next general elections, the BJP's popularity increased and the party doubled its vote share from 2009. In 2014, the Saffron Party got 36.9% of the votes in Assam, followed by the Congress Party with nearly 30% and the AIUDF with 15% votes. The remaining 9% votes went in favor of independence. Besides, the BJP's rise got a big stamp of approval from the state in the 2016 assembly elections. The BJP won 60 of the 126 seats in the state assembly. The Congress was in the 2nd place, far behind with 26 seats. The AGP got 14, the AIUDF 13, and the BPF got 12. As far as the vote share is concerned, in the state assembly elections, the Congress party got a slightly bigger share of pie in the assembly polls. The BJP's vote share stood at almost 30%, while the Congress's was at a little over 31%.
Let's now listen to my colleague Tina Jha about the facts and figures in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. Tina?
If you may recall, Vishal, the politics of Arunachal Pradesh has seen some very interesting twists and turns in recent years. The Congress party held sway in the state for decades, but in 2016, the situation completely changed. This was when the majority of 42 MLAs of the Congress party joined the People's Party of Arunachal Pradesh, which was an alliance partner of the NDA and part of the Northeast Democratic Alliance, before switching over to the BJP in what is being called, in fact, it was called then a high political drama in the way these MLAs switched to the BJP. Now, following that switch, the BJP came into power in a state that had until then been a stronghold of the Congress. In order to understand the power that the Congress party wielded in Arunachal Pradesh, let's look at the numbers of the last 2 assembly polls in the state. In 2009, of the 60 assembly seats in Arunachal Pradesh, the Congress party won 42. 3 seats went to the BJP, while 4 to the PPA. Among the rest of the 11 seats, 5 each went to the NCP and the AITC. 5 years later, in 2014, the situation remained almost unchanged, with the Congress again winning 42 of the 60 seats. But the biggest gainer this time was the BJP, which jumped from just 3 seats to 11 seats. This time, in 2014, 5 seats went to the PPA and 2 to independents. Now, these were the party positions in terms of seats. When we look at the vote share, this jump for the BJP was visible there as well. In 2009, the Congress got 50% of the vote share, while the BJP got just 5.2%, with the PPA and the other parties taking the rest of the votes. But in 2014, the BJP gained massive ground in Arunachal Pradesh. The Congress party's vote share stayed more or less the same, but the BJP's vote share jumped from a meager 5.2% to more than 31%. Now the BJP is in power in the state, and it will be interesting to see how the composition of the next assembly takes place.
Another state which is going to polls, for assembly polls rather specifically in the first phase in the Northeast, is the state of Sikkim. And what exactly has been the scenario there in the past 10 years or so? Let's again go back to my colleague Tina Cha in the data center. Tina?
That's right, Vishal. As you pointed out, Sikkim is one of the 4 states that is holding simultaneous polls to Lok Sabha as well as state legislative assembly. For more than 3 decades, only one ruling party, the Sikkim Democratic Front, has been in power in the state and also represented the lone Lok Sabha seat in the state. This time, the state is going to witness a multi-cornered fight between the Sikkim Democratic Front, the Sikkim National Congress, as well as the newly formed HSP, floated by footballer Baichung Bhutia. Now, whether the SDF continues its dominance over Sikkim, or will the other 2 parties bring about a change in the tiny state's political scenario, that is something we'll have to watch out for. But at the moment, let's take a look at how these parties performed in 2009 as well as 2014 assembly elections. 10 years ago, in 2009, the SDF made a clean sweep, winning all 32 assembly seats. Practically no opposition in the 32-member House. But 5 years later, in 2014, the party's graph went down. Although it emerged as the single largest party with 22 seats, it lost 10 seats to Sikkim Krantikari Morcha. And the same thing reflected in the vote share as well. In 2009, the SDF got nearly 66% votes. But in 2014, the party's vote share came down to 56.74%. The SKM got 42.07% votes, while the Congress and the BJP got 1.42% and 0.71% votes, respectively. Now, this time, the SKM has forged an alliance with the BJP to contest both the Assembly as well as Lok Sabha elections in the state, which will be held simultaneously on 11th April.